Hi, so today we're going to look at a lower body workout. It's really, really important to start to increase your strength in your lower body if you want to be able to hit the ball further, because the lower body starts off the swing. You can generate a lot of power from there. So I'm going to give you some exercises that can help. So first up, we've got some goblet squats, or you can just do body weight squats if you're starting out and you want to keep it simple. We'll just go on our feet back. I have quite a lot of hip mobility, so I tend to keep my feet slightly straighter, because when I squat, if I have too much turnout, I will squat very, very low. So I tend to have a slightly more turned in foot, so my feet are straighter, and that just stops me going way too low. We want our hips to be going just below our knees when we're squatting. You want to keep the knees driving out, so we don't want to see the knees coming in. Keep the chest up and keep the head up, so you've got a nice straight back posture. So as we come down, we're coming down to here, and then back up. Really squeeze through the glutes, all the way up. Okay, then if you wanted to make it harder, you could either put a barbell on your back or your front, or you could use a dumbbell and hold it here. So we're goblet squatting here, so holding it like this, and then coming down, and then back up. And if you do 12 to 15 of these, okay, if you give that a go. So next up, we've got some walking lunges, or if you don't have much space and you're doing this at home, you could just do them on the spot. So when we're lunging, just make sure that you don't over lunge and put too much stress on the hip flexor, but also you don't want to be too sort of bunched up here as well. So it's almost like 90 degrees and 90 degrees. Try and keep your shoulders back so you're not coming too far, you're not leaning forward too much. And the other thing is, when we're stepping forwards into the lunge, just make sure that back heel is straight, so you don't want it turned out like that, because that's going to pull your hip out as well. So as we come down, we're going to come down into a lunge, and then we're going to step together, and we're going to step out on the other leg, and then step together. So if you're just starting out, I would say just do body weight lunges. Do between 8 and 12 on each side, but if you're alternating, then obviously 16 to 24 as you're walking. If you wanted to make it a little bit harder, you could add in some dumbbells. So with your dumbbells, you could either hold them by your side when you were lunging, stepping out and then coming down and then stepping together. You could hold them in a front rack position like this, or once again, you could use a barbell either on your back or your front. So many variations. But just do what you're comfortable with. So give them a try, and they'll really start to help with your leg strength. So next up, we've got some side-on knee drives. So I really like this exercise for trying to get a bit of power and speed, which is great in our swing. It also is going to make you balance at the top. So we're going to put one foot on and just start with no weight or anything. And then what we're going to do is we're going to drive up into this position, and then you're going to try and balance for a second until you've maintained that balance, and then come back down to here. You don't need to take this foot off, and then drive up, and then balance, hold it, and then back down. So we're trying to get some speed as we do it, and then come back down, drive up, and then hold. So we're really having to engage our core when we do this. Squeeze through all our glutes, squeeze through our core as well. I would typically do 10 to 12 of these on one side, and then obviously either go to the other side of the box or turn around and do 10 to 12 on the other side. So put these in, and that will help as well with getting a little bit more distance in those drives. So next up, we've got some Bulgarian split squats. So you'll need something to put your back foot up onto. You don't want it to be way too high or way too low. And when you're doing it, like the lunge, we don't want to be over lunging too much and putting too much stress on the hip flexors, but you don't want to be too cramped. But you can make this slightly more quad dominant or glute dominant, depending on where you position your foot. So if I came down to the bottom here of the exercise, if I'm at 90 degrees here with my knee, if my leg is slightly forward out of 90 degrees, but not overstressing the hip flexor, it's going to be a more glute dominant exercise. Whilst if I'm very slightly inside that 90 degrees, it's going to be slightly more quad dominant. So it just depends what you want. Okay, and the toe position, you can either be up on the toe or you can be flat, but you do just need it to be quite close to the edge, because obviously if I stick my foot back here, I'm not going to be able to get my knee down. Okay, when you're coming down, just make sure the knee is tracking as well, so we don't want the knee dipping in like that. That's normally a common mistake. When you start to add weight, the knee will start to dip in slightly, so just really focus on where that knee is tracking. So, and once again, if you haven't done these before, just start with body weight and then you can build some weight in. So as we come down to here, and then we're driving up, really try and squeeze through there. Try and keep your shoulders back as well, so I'm not leaning too far over. And we're coming down to there and then back up. 10 to 12 on each side is fine. You could either add in like a goblet, like we did with the goblet squats. You could put a bar on your back, you could hold 2 dumbbells, you could front rack. So there's lots of options, but just start with body weight and then see how you get on. And last up, we've got some single leg deadlifts. So once again, we'll start with the body weight variation, and then we can add some weight in, and then I can also show you something that I like to do with some of my golfers too, just to make it a little bit more challenging. So we're going to be extending that back leg out behind, trying to keep the back nice and straight, and then coming back up to here. What we don't want to do is drop our shoulders forward. We want to maintain nice posture through our back when we're doing it. If you want to make this a little bit harder, you can then obviously add in a weight, dumbbell, kettlebell, whatever you'd like. So from here, coming down, and then back up to there. Oh, there we go, there's my balance. So you really have to engage the core to do this one. So I would typically do sort of 10 to 12 on each side of those. If you want to make this a little bit trickier and just incorporate the core a little bit more, something I do with some of my golfers is as we come down, we get to this position and we're going to change the hands. So we're making ourselves unstable, changing the weight, changing back, and then coming back up to here. So really extend that leg out the back. Change the weight across. There we go, see? I'll try one more time. So coming down, across, back, and then stand up. So a good way to do it is focus, which I wasn't actually doing then, is focus on a point and sort of try and keep your eyes focused on that point, and that will help you when you're balancing. And I would do slightly less of these because you're obviously under tension for a bit longer at the bottom. So I might do sort of 6 to 8 of these on each side. And then obviously you can play around with the weight and do what suits you. So that was our lower body workout. You can do sort of 2 to 4 sets of those, so you can work through the exercises and then go around again, slightly increase the weight if you want to as well. If you like this video, have a look at my other fitness videos on the Precision Golf YouTube channel, and hopefully I'll see you again next week.